Hello and welcome to the Goldenseal Podcast, a podcast created to celebrate 50 years of Goldenseal Magazine, a quarterly publication about West Virginia traditional life. I'm Lakin Blankenship, the editor of the magazine and your host for this series. On our fall episode, we will hear a bit from our state apiarist Shanda King, as well as Putnam County beekeeper Jeff Thomas and Nitro-based business Hillbilly Hippie Honeybees. You will also hear a bit from Wayne County's Holy Cross Monastery, the Bee Monks. The Bee Monks performed a blessing of the apiary at the new Community Teaching Apiary in Nitro. The event was held by the Nitro Sustainable Community Group. They host regular community events to help educate folks on sustainable practices like home food preservation, gardening, and beekeeping, to name a few.
And as in the wilderness thou wast well pleased to nourish thy Baptist John with wild honey, so now by thy good pleasure taking care for our sustenance, do thou bless these beehives in their apiary, greatly increasing the multiplication of the bees therein, preserving them by thy grace, and filling us with rich honey. I'm Father Benedict. This is Father Isaac. We're from Holy Cross Monastery in Wayne, West Virginia. In 2019, our beekeeping operation got probably bigger than anybody intended it to get, and so we started Bee Monks. We have a website, beemonks.com. You can go there and that'll link to some products on our main monastery website as well. Saints Zosimus and Sabbatius were on Solovki Island in the far north of Russia, and they are beekeeping saints. They're often depicted with traditional gum and some bees in their icon, and this icon was painted by hand at the monastery, so by one of our monks. So we brought this today. Our Orthodox services are liturgical in nature, so we'll open with a standard set of prayers followed by a few psalms, and then Father Isaac will read a few prayers specifically for the bees, and then he'll sprinkle the apiary with holy water. Blessed is our God, always, now, and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Glory to thee, our God.
Shanda King is our state apiarist, and I stopped to talk with her in early August at a community event in Nitro.
What's really interesting is the last couple years, so we've had online registration for about 3 or 4 years now for the first time. And so we were able to track and run data more. The number of beekeepers is staying kind of consistent around 1,600. It waffles between 1,500 and 1,700. That's registered beekeepers. But the number of colonies per beekeeper is going up, which is great because that means beekeepers are getting better at keeping bees alive. And that's my goal. My goal with education is make them a better beekeeper. I have about 65 colonies myself, and then I run about 20 for the Department of Agriculture. Those 20, if they keep them alive, which last year I did, very good job, become more. So I try to look for homes for them. And kind of like this program today. So community programs or youth programs or educational programs. WVU Parkersburg is starting up an apiary. Some schools have apiaries, so I try to find homes for the bees that way. There's a little pest that got here in the mid-'80s called a varroa mite, and it came from Asia, and it's like a tick on a dog is what it's like. It's how I describe people. What do ticks carry? Viruses, right? It carries up to 24, and that number's always changing, viruses. And if we don't control that mite, the viral loads get too high in our colonies, and when they come into the winter, they die. So 88% of our colonies that we lose are because of that. We haven't done what we need to do.
Jeff Thomas is a Putnam County beekeeper of 12 years.
I run 37 hives right now on 3 different farms. Yeah, right now I've pulled honey. I am feeding back sugar water and all the essentials to build them back up for the winter brood. I try to manage mine to where I make splits to where they do not swarm. But I also raise nucleus colonies to sell. I help others. I try to educate and help everybody. I've been doing it for about 12 years now.
12 years. Clint and David Baker are the owner-operators of Hillbilly Hippie Honeybees, together with their good friend and the hippie of the operation, Jason Goebel.
We have been in and out of it with our grandfather, with our dad, and then they passed away, and we got out of it for a little bit, and then not too long ago, about 3 years ago, a swarm came in. Clint and I got together. We said, yeah, maybe we need to get back into this. We started that actually as a memorial hive for our father, and well, one hive turned into 8, 8's turned into 20, and now we're up to about 40 that we're
It's
working.
addictive, right? Yeah. It's very addictive. It is.
So that's one thing Clint always says. He says, bees are good about doing two things, making honey and making bees.
They are.
And we have made bees. So, we also we go out and do what we call cutouts. It's not just going in and cutting it out and killing them. We actually cut them out, we rehive them, and we save them.
We've always wanted to do is have a teaching apiary to teach folks, and we're really focusing on like the hives for heroes, like the veterans, and then kids. People ask us all the time, what do you enjoy the most? I mean, I love just fooling in the bees and fooling with the bees. My least favorite thing, believe it or not, I tell us all the time, is harvesting honey.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And I love that part.
And he loves that part.
Well,
so
that's a good,
it works out good.
balance
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I love harvesting. I love, the natural entities that you get from the hive, and turn them into all different kinds of, wax candles, the whole works. So yeah, it works out pretty good for us. I mean, any way we can get people involved, because you can't have enough, and it's not competition. Whenever you have another beekeeper next door, it's just, more of a blessing to have.
Now we have a few rousing fiddle tunes from the Vandalia Sampler album featuring several West Virginia artists. First you'll hear Billy in the Low Ground by Kanawha County fiddler Delbert Hughes, followed by West Virginia Highway from Randolph County fiddler Woody Simmons, accompanied by Tom King and Mark Payne. And we'll be wrapped up with Kanawha County fiddler Bill Iman playing Sally Gooden. next segment, we'll feature clips from Ann Bowers, a basket maker from the Eastern Panhandle. Ann is also a founding member of Over the Mountain Studio Tour, a Jefferson County art collective that has been welcoming folks into their studios for 35 years now. This year, on November 9th and 10th, you can participate in their self-guided tour to see the artists at work in their own environment and perhaps purchase goods from them directly. You can find more information about the tour over at overthemountainstudiotour.com.
I grew up in Shepherdstown. When I was a little older, Mom and Dad moved to Martinsburg. Danny and I got married, moved to Shepherdstown. So Shepherdstown's very familiar, and we've been here on this farm for 40 plus years. When we lived in Shepherdstown, a friend of mine owned a little store called the Needle Shop, and she carried counted cross stitch and hand spun wool. And she wanted to put in a line of basketry materials, and she asked, "What do you think about that?" And I famously said, "I think that's a terrible idea." She said, "Well, that's too bad. I think I'm going to try it. We're going to go to a class." So we went to a class, a one-day class, and I was absolutely hooked. I have always worked with my hands since I've been a little girl, sewing and all kinds of crafts and things.
Right.
Basketry is it, and I still feel that way. Last September, I went to Poland for the International Worldwide Weaving and Wicker Festival. And it is a 5-day event that gathered people from almost 60 countries that Americans typically don't know about this so much. But there were people from almost every continent, and it was like the basketry Olympics. So that was like one of my very favorites. It was just phenomenal. And then when you get there, most Polish people speak English, but when you're with makers, you don't need words. You know, you have an understanding because of commonalities in weaving. Yeah, so we have a lot of influences in the U.S. You know, we are the melting pot. And in Poland, they asked the group of 4 of us that came from the U.S. to give a presentation about basketry in the U.S., not American, basketry in the U.S. And we looked at each other and went, oh my gosh, because the influences are so wide, you know, European, African influences, indigenous influences, influences by culture, modern day. It's a real melting pot. So our basketry in the U.S. is very rich and varied. I would say, first of all, basketry is a very unusual field in that it's been around for so very long. It's been around for as long as people are. Basketry was present before pottery was present. And I think that people don't realize in our current culture the history, that these had a function, a job, and I believe you can tell the history of the world through basketry. You really can. The materials, the techniques, the people, and the combinations of things through the years as people move. So I think it's very important. I consider myself so blessed to be a part of it. Can you tell I love basketry?
Yes.
I love it. It has been my life for 43, 44 years. It's what I've done. I've been able to do an awful lot. Basketry has brought me wonderful people into my life, wonderful circumstances. I feel like I'm a very blessed woman because of basketry in my life. So, yeah. Over the Mountain Studio Tour came as a result of a few of us wanting to do something other than paying a promoter to do a show. Yeah. So that's how that came up. And we said, why not do a studio tour? We've heard of studio tours. Can't we do that? And it's evolved over the years. We have the longest running studio tour in the state of West Virginia. It's been going on for 34 years now.
Wow.
And Diane is an important part of our studio tour. Diane does many things, including promotion through newspapers and all kinds of stuff, and has fabulous work. We don't pay anybody to do the work of the tour, which is promotion, website, all the jazz that goes with that. We do it all ourselves.
Diane Meyers is a fiber artist and weaver of over 50 years. She's a member of Over the Mountain Studio Tour.
She thought I was nuts. But I was an art major in college, and I've always loved fibers.
Right.
And threads and just anything to do with fabrics. So we had to do a senior project, and I wanted to do it in weaving. So I went to Chautauqua Institution. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Mary E. Snyder, who is a noted lace weaver, written books and all that kind of stuff, was the teacher. I'm 21. Did I appreciate her? Heck no. So I learned the basics of weaving, how to ball. Everybody coming into that studio was at least 80. Some of them were in the hundreds.
Yeah.
I mean, they were ancient. So, anyway, I got through that summer, and I and then as a graduation present, my parents bought me a loom.
Neil Super is a member of the Over the Mountain Studio Tour. He's a wood turner and instructor, and recently has become more involved with historic preservation and restoration.
This kind of work as well. So this space is where my architectural furniture, and I also teach those 4 lathes, those white ones. That's where I teach introductory turning classes as well.
Awesome.
So that's the kind of stuff I make here, and table legs, and whatever furniture. But then this is the kind of stuff I make for the tour. And this I make in my Shepherdstown shop. So I have a lot of table and kitchen things that just people like, and they sell well, and I sell them in stores in their region. And then what I like to do most is this kind of work. What I do is I not 100%, but what I try to do is I get wood that is from either a historic place, like here in Jefferson County, or maybe the tree is historic. Sometimes it was a witness tree from the Civil War, or maybe it was one tree was the oldest. In fact, the tree that this piece came from. So Falling Spring is a old antebellum mansion that belonged actually well before Civil War, and it just so happened to have the largest sugar maple in the state of West Virginia growing on it.
Oh, wow.
So when that fell, they asked me to come over, and I took some of the wood. So what I do is I do a series. So this is Falling Spring Champion Maple number 13, and I sign each one, and then they.
Rod Glover specializes in botanical collage and assemblage. He forages for his natural plant materials and then sorts them and then lays them out in different patterns that draw the eye. He is also a member of Over the Mountain Studio Tour.
Your eye, once you get them in a visual arrangement, your eye tends to see things all the same, even though they're not.
Right.
So you read it as this uniformity, but I think one of the coolest things about doing stuff like this is I'll press like yarrow leaves, you press hundreds of them at a time, and every single one is different, and it's just kind of always astonishing, that within even a single species, the diversity within that is kind of amazing. So everything goes on dry lathe first, and then I take a picture, and then I disassemble it, and then I start from the bottom with the adhesive.
Liz Goins is a member of the Over the Mountain Studio Tour and a paper artist who specializes in altar books and cut paper pieces, handmade books and journals. She offers workshops from her Charlestown studio where she teaches the art of papercraft.
So these are some of the books that I did, and then I just started experimenting with books, like different structures and things like that. And so I ran, and then I do eco printing. So it's similar to Rod. So when we're together, our work looks really good. So anyway, these are just little books. This is an eco printing book. Now, these are real leaves. And what I did with them was I started using oil pastels on top of them, and then I put Mod Podge on top of that.
Okay.
And they've sort of stuck around. So sort of my work is changing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important for artists. When we're doing the Over the Mountain, for me personally, I want everyone to be able to buy one thing. So if it's just a little thing, I want it to have some history, and I want them to have a little experience. So
Right.
Rod and I are going to do experiential art this fall.
Fun.
We're going to set up my studio as a place where they can dip their Decla mold and make a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
Rod
Demo.
can show them how they can do
Mhm.
these things, but I want them to, I think that's going to be important for my soul. So
Nice.
it's going to be it's going to be a different kind of setup and a different kind of experience.
Now we have a few more songs from the Vandalia Sampler. First, we have a clip from storyteller Bonnie Collins. Some of our listeners may remember Bonnie from a segment on our summer episode. Bonnie will be singing I'm Still Single. That will be followed by Temptation Rag, courtesy of Robin Kessinger with Danny Kessinger. Rounding up this selection of songs is none other than 2006 Vandalia Award winner Ethel Caffey Austin singing Peace in the Valley.
My folks thought I was awful cute, they were so proud of me. My dad says, Ma, she'll be a doll and make the boys' hearts tingle. But I'm sad to say this very day that I'm still single. Well, I went to school and I studied hard to make Ma proud of me. I'll amount to something someday, I told them wait and see. I'll have a great big bank account that will make my pockets jingle. Then all the guys will buzz like flies, but I'm still single. The years went by and I worked hard to get myself a man. Every time I set a trap, the guy got up and ran. Oh, the postman never brings a note, my doorbell never jingles. I sit and sigh and I wonder why that I'm still single. Now Christmas time is coming soon and I'm about to panic. I'm gonna try again this year, oh boy, I'm a-getting frantic. I'm a-getting myself some mistletoe and a kissing bell to tingle. Then come next June, I'm a-heading for the moon if I'm still single.
Thank you.
There will be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh Lord, I pray there'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There will be peace in the valley for me. There will be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh Lord, I pray there'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There will be peace, peace in the valley for me.
All right, we're wrapping up this episode now here with a few more items of note. Our 50th anniversary exhibit is still on display at the Culture Center until October 31st. This exhibit has attempted to share a bit about the history of our magazine and the types of articles we've featured over the course of 50 years. From musicians and instrument makers to rural life dancers and craftspeople, much like the scraps of a cherished quilt woven together to tell a story, Goldenseal has a little sampling of all things West Virginia to share. The exhibit features photos from the magazine as well as artifacts from the West Virginia State Museum. Stop by and check it out before it leaves. To play you out here, we've got two tunes from Clay County fiddler French Carpenter from his 1983 album First Fiddle, put out by Elderberry Records, a record label managed by the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History. First, an original French Carpenter tune, Thelma's Sore Toe, followed by Georgiana Moon Waltz.
French, whenever you're ready.
And that is all for this episode. Once again, thank you to our listeners and supporters. As with each episode, to learn more about the topics discussed on the podcast, subscribe to Goldenseal or call our office to purchase your copy of the 2024 fall issue. It's all of the everyday folks of West Virginia sharing their stories that has kept us going for these 50 years. If you've enjoyed these podcast episodes that share a sampling of each issue of the magazine, reach out and let us know. What would you like to hear more of in this space if we continue to release episodes in the future? You can email us at chgoldenseal@wv.gov, comment on our Facebook page, or give us a call and let us know what you think at 304-558-0220.